for a powerful week. Oh, well, happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day. Today we are going to celebrate mothers, grandmothers, stepmothers, and all of us, women and men, all of us, who just flow forth with that great mothering energy, because I know we all do. If you go up today and say Happy Mother's Day to a guy, say I mean it, because you have mothering energy too, and it's a wonderful thing. It's that energy of love and acceptance, compassion, and forgiveness that we all have. I'd also like to celebrate the beginning of Ramadan, which is starting on Tuesday, May 15th. This period is one of the most important observances in the Muslim calendar. It celebrates the beginning of when the Prophet Muhammad got the receipt of the Holy Quran from the angel Gabriel. And that's a very important holiday, and I just want to say, let's note that it's happening. It's starting on Tuesday, May 15th, and it goes till June 14th. It's a wonderful period of reflection and fasting and just dedication, rededication of one's life to the purposes for which we are here. So to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, we say, have a blessed Ramadan. So, you know me, you know I love trivia, so we are going to start with a bit of Mother's Day trivia. Now, if you open the paper today, you will read the same trivia. Okay, so I'm hoping you haven't done that. But anyway, the first, actually, it kind of changes every year, but the first mention of any day commemorating mothers in the U.S. was in 1858 at the instigation of Ann Jarvis. I was telling my wife this story, and I said, she was a bit of a political activist, and at the end of the story, she said, she was a public health specialist, because that's what my wife does. But anyway, Ann Jarvis from Culpeper, Virginia, a small town in the Appalachian region, she realized that there were huge health problems brought about by poor sanitation, infection, especially with regard to young children. So she set out to fix it. She herself had 11 children, only 4 of whom survived to adulthood. So she tried to create a Mother's Work Day. And this was going to be a day in which mothers could work for better sanitation and disease prevention in an effort to reduce the high infant mortality rate and the high mortality rate among young children. After the Civil War started, she didn't stop there. She also worked to improve sanitary conditions for Union soldiers and for Confederate soldiers in the camps. The conditions were such that, as we know in the Civil War, more soldiers died from disease and infection than they did from wounds. It was a terrible time. After the war, Ann Jarvis again didn't stop, and so she directed her energies toward reconciliation and healing between former Union and Confederate soldiers. Despite significant personal risk, she staged a Women's Friendship Day in 1868 at the local courthouse for soldiers of both camps. She brought them together, and what she said is, look, we have a shared future. We may have been divided in the past, but the future is joint. So let's come together and make it that. Let's come together and make it the best future she can. She was a true pioneer. Her daughter was Anna Jarvis, who is recognized as the founder of the Mother's Day holiday in the United States. So the courageous example of Ann Jarvis greatly influenced abolitionist and social leader Julia Ward Howe, who was born in 1819 and died in 1910. Okay, this is the test. You may know her as the author of what? Julia Ward Howe. Yes!
What?
Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Oh.
Yes, Battle Hymn of the Republic, written in 1861. She was also greatly affected by the carnage of the Franco-Prussian War. I've now told you all I know about that war. And the Civil War. Using the example of Ann Jarvis, she determined to call upon the strengths of motherhood to find an end to the carnage and an end to war itself. She had a sentimental view of motherhood, no doubt, but she saw mothers as change agents. She saw mothers as people who had an investment in the future, the group with society with the greatest investment in protecting sons and daughters and our posterity. Mothers have a stake. I'm not saying fathers don't, but mothers have a stake in the future. They look at their kids and they want them to have a wonderful, a blessed, a prosperous future, and they're going to stand up and make it happen. Don't get in a mother's way, right? Okay. Powered by love and will, and they stop at nothing to keep their families safe. She believed that same energy could be writ large to make our community safer, to make our globe safer, to make our connections throughout our world better and more peaceful. In 1870, she wrote her Mother's Day Proclamation. Okay, has anybody here heard? I know some folks have heard the Mother's Day Proclamation. Who has not heard the Mother's Day Proclamation? All right, this is good. This is what it was. It was a call to action asking all mothers to leave their homes for one day a year to work for peace and reconciliation. Who knew this was the beginning of Mother's Day? Seriously. Okay, this is how it goes. Arise then, women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be that of water or of fears. Our sons shall not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, mercy, and patience. We women of one country will be too tender to those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs. From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. She went on to ask for a Congress of Women to meet to promote the alliance of the different nationalities, the amicable settlement of international questions, the great and general interests of peace. Think of that. The day she envisioned was to be called Mother's Day for Peace, to be held on a Sunday in June. Indeed, this day was celebrated in certain communities for the next 30 years. So it is the efforts of these two women that reflect the true beginning of Mother's Day, the holiday we celebrate today. It was not a holiday for the faint-hearted. It did not involve brunch. It involved getting in the street, standing up, and making your voice be heard. Jarvis and later Julia Ward Howe saw this day as a call to communicate, to connect, to make a difference, and to raise a consciousness of peace, reconciliation, and healing. The vision was of mothers worldwide who would work for peace, for greater health, for human dignity, for reconciliation, who would bring this energy of loving motherhood to solve the problems of the world around them. Think about that. That's what we just prayed for. The powerful energy of motherhood, of birth, of creation, to solve the problems of the world around us. They recognize the transformational power of this motherhood energy, and they work to spread it beyond their own families to improve the world around them. So, what I also noticed about these women is they didn't wait to formulate complex plans. They didn't come up with wiring diagrams. They didn't have planning meetings so much. They didn't make it hard to grasp, and they didn't stop because their voice was only one. They stepped out and sought to apply the basic principles that our mothers teach us: love, forgiveness, peace, understanding, to create a better world around us. We all have that loving motherhood energy to preserve, to make safe, to heal, to protect, to improve, whether we are mothers or not. It is this energy of healing, what I call love in action, that we celebrate today, that I urge us to consider today as we move forward. Can you think of any lesson that our mothers taught us that does not apply to our lives as adults? Can you think of any? No. As we grow older, we realize that problems are complex. Human motivations may be multi-layered, obscure. Distances and differences among us appear great, and solutions may be far off. However, that doesn't mean that the principles our mothers taught us as children don't apply. It perhaps means that we have a greater need than ever to remember what they are. I cannot think, read the papers. I cannot think of an issue we read about today that would not benefit from the simple lessons our mothers taught us when we were kids. Think about that. Lessons to which we would put the same muscle and commitment that Julia Ward Howe and Ann Jarvis did. These virtues were simple, but she carried them to complex questions. Because just because the questions are complex doesn't mean the values we bring to them are, right? Our public morality should be the same as our private morality. The complex questions get solved with the simple virtues we all know to be true. So let's think of some examples. Okay, income inequality, scarce resources, global poverty, allocation of diminishing supplies of water and food. What did our mothers teach us? Anybody?
Share.
Share! Yes, we need to share. What did your mom say? It's not all about you, right? There's enough to go around if we just take what we need and share the rest. You don't have to take it all. Leave enough for everyone else. Play fair, right? That is a lesson which can be writ large. Okay, climate change, pollution and the threats to our environment. What did our moms teach us? Pick up after yourselves. Take care of what you have. You better be careful. You're not getting another, right? You're not getting another. Take care of what you have. Don't break it. Some things cannot be replaced. Or as my son Nick says, you break it, you buy it. Yeah, take care of what you have. Religious or civic intolerance, political division, being unable to speak to members of another party, inability to respect people who are different. What did our moms teach us? So yes, stop talking and listen. You are not learning anything when your mouth is moving, right? Stop talking and listen. Everyone deserves respect. Would it kill you to learn something new? No, it would not. A little humility goes a long way. We are all in this together. And we do better when we respect each other. This is not hard stuff. Corruption in government or in the corporate world, you said it. Say, I'm sorry. Admit what you did and fix it. Take responsibility for what you did. Tell the truth. My personal favorite, you better not be lying to me. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm not. On the other side of that equation is forgiveness. Our mothers taught us that human decency is not rocket science. It's not, and it's not negotiable. They taught us to act with integrity even when no one is watching. Right? These principles matter in our personal and in our public lives. Our mothers also taught us the healing power of relationship. That's that whole song that Asha just sang. The healing power of relationship. Somebody who will care for you, who will be there for you, who will listen to you. The energy of motherhood is the energy of connection. It's the energy of holding up, of loving and support. We learn the remarkable healing power of family and community through our mothers. Those of us who were lucky enough to have loving and wonderful mothers. And those who didn't have that with their natural mothers, hopefully they found it with someone else who supplied that mothering energy at some point in their lives. We learn the remarkable healing power of family, of community. We are not people who do well when we are alone. We are not solitary creatures. We are creatures of connection. We are made to connect to gain strength and support from each other. We do better then. We make our world a better place by taking that energy of connection, that same energy that we learned early on, and spreading it around, applying it to others. The same love and support and respect and willingness to listen and understand that we learn from them. Our world is only a better place when we apply that to others, into the larger community. Now more than ever, our society needs that healing power of that same connection and community. In recent years, we've seen our social fabric getting a little thin, fraying a little bit around the edges, and we see the impact of that on us collectively and individually. Sister Joan Chittister writes, "Only love puts the human community back together again after our humanity has torn it apart." Love puts it back together again. Love applied by us. No one else is going to do it. It's going to be us. It is our humanity that has created the challenges, and it is us that will restore them to health. So daily we read about the social impact of the stresses we feel. Depression rates. I'm Googling depression rates in the U.S. Well, they've gone up. Yes, this is the research I do for talks. They've gone up. The opioid crisis, we read about that every day. That is surely an indication of a social malaise that people feel can only be solved by that. A study by the National Center for Health Statistics showing that the suicide rate has surged in recent years. It rose 24% from 1999 to 2014. It especially rose for middle-aged women, ages 45 to 64, jumping by 63% over that time frame. It rose by 43% for men in that age range, the sharpest increase for males of any age. These are signs of societal isolation, despair, and just uncertainty. about what is next for each of us. A CDC study in August of 2017 reported that the number of Americans who say they've taken an antidepressant over the last month rose by 65% between 1999 and 2014. By 2014, about 1 in every 8 Americans over the age of 12, 1 in 8, reported antidepressant use. Now, part of that is just because there's less social stigma to depression. There's more understanding of mental illness, and that's good. But what it also suggests is that we sometimes are not doing well. As a group, we wonder where we are going. We wonder what the future holds, and we feel alone in facing those challenges. And the answer to that is connecting more with each other, just being a helping hand and a heart willing to listen for each other. Our challenges are not limited to this country. We open the paper, we look around the world. As our world becomes more interdependent, more global, we confront new challenges that call for solutions only humanity acting together can solve. And really that's a new paradigm. As we face these global challenges, we face them together. Those who were here when we did the Earth Day talk saw that picture of Earth rising that we showed. We are just a little blue ball just hanging here in the middle of space. And our challenges are going to be solved together, or they may not be solved at all. But that's a different paradigm. Because the paradigms we operate from now are, I'm going to take what's mine. This is my boundary. This is my flag. This is mine. It's not yours. I'm not sure that's the energy that's going to solve our problems. I believe the energy that's going to solve our problems is a more communal energy, a more collaborative energy, a more let's pool our best minds, our best resources, our wide open hearts, and solve these together because our future is shared. It's like Ann Jarvis said when she was working in the Union and the Confederate camps. Our future is shared.
Back.
Hey, Nick, you're back. Good. We need to establish and maintain this connection in a world where community is also a different paradigm. Think about communities. Communities used to be people who look like you, people who believe like you, people who are related to you. What are communities now? Now we make very different communities. The power of community is not whether we can accept people who are the same, it's whether we can accept and love people who are different. Right? Because at the end of the day, we are all of the one. We are all faces of the divine. And when we can open our hearts and accept people who may not believe like us, who may not look like us, who may not be related to us, that is the true metric of community. That is the true power of community. We are all part of the human community. That's the truth. And that's the truth that we need to recognize and carry in our hearts. So how do we grow this new consciousness of community for this new world? Well, we can only do it one choice at a time and one heart at a time, one connection at a time. Any change that's going to be made is going to be made person to person, voice to voice, and heart to heart. And that's why it has to start with each of us. When we think we are only one, we are too small, there's no other way for it to start. It's not that groups make large changes, the people make large changes. There's just numbers of them, right? It's got to start individually. It needs to be accomplished individually. That's how we make this new consciousness of community. As our mothers taught us, what you do matters, even when nobody is looking. What we do matters. We step outside our comfort zones. We consciously share time with those we might not otherwise come to know. We welcome those whom we might not otherwise have time to interact with. We step outside what makes us comfortable, because when we do that, we realize our comfort zone is an artificial wall that we put around ourselves. It is a wall which we put up, it's a wall that we can bring down. We welcome others whom we might not otherwise know into our circle of friendship and into our circle of love. We here at One World know that spirit is found in the space between people. Isn't that what Martin Buber said? God is found in the space between people. It's found in the dialogue. That's where God is spread. That's where the love of spirit becomes alive and where it grows, in the connection between people. We build community one conversation at a time, one heart at a time. Our mothers taught us that there is nothing we cannot accomplish if we work together, live up to our principles, behave with decency, and we keep working until the job is done. We don't give up. Let's celebrate that mother energy today and take it out beyond these doors as a healing energy for our community and our world. Thank you.